Thanks for joining us. I'm Lorelei Shimayo. This is Metaphysical Empowerment and Wellness Events. We have events throughout the Northwest, particularly in right now. We're doing them online also. And then live we meet in Seattle, Portland, Salem, and Eugene. You can find us online at MetaphysicalEmpowermentEvents.com. And we interview our readers and healers and vendors so you can get to know us before you meet us at an event. So I'm here today with Jill Sager. So Jill, please share a bit about yourself and what you share at our events.
Thanks for asking me to do this, Laurel. I appreciate it. I am new to doing metaphysical events. I've been reading tarot cards and channeling guidance for about 40 years. But I really like the interaction. That kind of, that one-on-one is always really great. And at metaphysical events, like the one I did recently that Lorelei put on, I really got to meet a lot of really great people. And I think that's really part of what's drawing me to do them. Interacting with people who are interested in what I'm interested in and are there for the same reason, to find themselves in a wellness community. And that's why I really like doing it. What I offer there, of course, is going to be different than what I do privately, because it's always in a big room. It's always in a crowded space. There's a lot going on, a lot of energy. So I pare down what I do. I've done a few different things. I've offered people like a 20-minute reading. I've offered people like a 10-minute reading. It just kind of depends. But I honestly don't do very long readings when I'm at an event. I don't do more than 20 minutes, just because it's just hard to get into something really deep. So usually people are coming and they're asking maybe one question, and I can answer that for them. And that's really what I do there.
Mm-hmm. When you meet with people privately, it goes longer typically, more like an hour, or about how long?
Yeah, I offer 20 minutes and 15, I offer 20 minutes and 30 minutes for people, especially for people who've come back, who may just need a tune-up on what got read for them on a previous session. For the most part, yeah, my most popular is an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I record that session, and then I can deliver that I usually deliver that through Dropbox after they're gone, whether they're here in person or on the phone. I do have clients all over the United States. Like I said, I've been doing this a while. And I basically send those recordings out. That's something I also don't do at a metaphysical fair. I don't record the session.
Oh, that's great. And do you use one particular set of cards, or do you have several, or how does that work for you?
I really love tarot, and I have about 50 decks, but I really only use one deck, and it's the traditional deck. It's the one I learned. It's the Rider-Waite. I learned it in the 70s. I love that deck. It's real basic in terms of, I always recommend to my students who are learning tarot to use that deck, as a basic. I kind of liken it to, using a foundational tool, and then you can certainly go with other decks. It still speaks to me. Some people find it too traditional. I honestly feel like you can read into the cards what you need, and so some of the words might, in those traditional decks, maybe turn people off. But I'm really particular about it. I really think it still is charged with a lot of good stuff.
It's great. I didn't think to ask you this ahead of time. Would you like to show people the deck that you use, or any of the other decks? I can pause, and we can, if you want to get them.
I only have the deck that I use down here.
Sure. Okay, great. You can show us.
And I can show you that. I don't have, my other decks are upstairs in my private office.
Yeah, it's okay. That's great.
Yeah. But I can show you, the Rider-Waite is basically, and I use the Universal Weight, by the way, which has this deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a newer deck now called the Universal as well. But this one was repainted. The Rider-Waite, the traditional deck, was repainted by, I don't know if you can see it.
It's a little bright. Yeah, maybe pull it back a little bit too. Yeah, that's better over there.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe tell us a little bit about what you really enjoy about this deck. I'm very curious.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this particular deck was repainted by Hanson Roberts, who has her own tarot deck. And what I love about the Universal, although I got started on the one with the wood block one that's pretty brightly colored, but you can see how beautiful these are. I think they're really colored really beautifully, very soft.
Yeah.
She uses a lot of pastels, and so if you look at the traditional one, as opposed to this one. You'd see the traditional is kind of looks more like a woodblock print with very bright, I would say, colors, reds and yellows, primary colors. And these are a little bit more detailed in terms of colors. And so I really love it.
Yeah, this is great. I love seeing the cards. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry?
It's great. I love seeing the cards. It's really great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one thing I can say, what I do have on my desk down here is I also have, I really love the Osho Zen deck.
Mhm.
And I keep that on my, for those familiar with this, the Osho Zen Tarot. And I keep this on my desk here for when clients come, because sometimes it's just fun to pick another card. And this one, I have to tell you, although it's a tarot deck, I read it like more like an oracle. I read directly from the book. I don't transcribe this or translate it or interpret it. I love what the book has to say, and so I still read directly from the book, and my clients do too. But it's really great messages. I love using this. The other deck that I have for clients to also same thing, reading from the book, are the medicine cards built, and these are just great. They're all done with different animals. This one is the horse. I don't know if you can see it. There you go, the horse and the deer. And I got started with this deck when it first came out. I think it was the 80s. I could look it up, but whatever. Because I had seen a deer and I was really curious. Something really spoke to me. I said, there's got to be something about a message. And sure enough, I got this book and I did read it, and it was really apropos, and that just became true. Like tarot is true for me, and I've been doing my own readings for years, and the medicine cards were really true for me too. Butterflies and all those important messages. This is the lizard.
Yeah, that's great. I don't remember if it was what kind of birds they were, but it was like turkeys or peacocks. There was something that a whole group of them came wandering by when we were setting up for one of the fairs one time, and I immediately were like, okay, what do they mean?
I know, it's why it's good to have that book handy, and it's a great. It's a go-to. I really love that. I really love that deck.
That's great. And how did you first get started doing this work? It sounds like it was quite a while ago.
It was a while ago. It was probably could be 1977 or 78. I've lost track, but it was definitely somewhere in there. I was a Jewish girl raised in the Bronx. I had nothing to do with any of this metaphysical work or esoteric work. A friend of mine at the time gave me a deck. I still have it. And I started looking. She read cards. I started looking at the cards, and they spoke to me. I don't know. I can't speak now. I hardly remember why that was, but it was just this immediate connection. I got one book, Foster Case. It was an old book. There weren't that many books around at that time that I could learn from, but Paul Foster Case was the book I learned from. It was very traditional. It was the cards reversed were very negative. There was a lot of negativity in it, as well as positive stuff, but it really leaned on that negative vibe, and it also had a lot of the traditional ideas, I think, about the court cards, which had to do with, you'll meet a woman who's red-haired, you'll meet a man who's like blonde, and I have to say that right away my intuition spoke, even though I didn't know what that was at the time and didn't really know what the hell I was doing. But there was something about that I was able to discern what each card meant to me, and also what I couldn't deal with in terms of his idea about the cards. And I was able to kind of separate those out. And I did a lot of studying on my own. Back then, it was all on my own. I didn't have any teachers. I started getting books, Mary Greer's books, a lot of books. I still have them. I love them. And did a lot of self-study and read cards for myself every day. And I'll tell you, it was my sister who encouraged me to start reading for other people. I was reading for her, and over the years I got better, of course, and then I started reading for her friends and friends of friends, and that's kind of how it grew. It kind of grew organically. And I have to say that I had read, as I was studying, I read something that said, cards can change face, and I didn't understand what that was when I was a newbie with tarot. Didn't really get it, but I had that experience later on in my career doing tarot readings where I did see a card for the first time completely different than I had ever before. I saw the Queen of Cups. She was pregnant. Like, never had seen that before. My integrity is such that I don't read cards in the beginning. I didn't read cards that I didn't understand for people. And I also didn't edit anything I got. And so it was for my stepsister, and I told her about it. And well, long story short, it was very apropos to what was going on with her. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing, you asked about how I got started. I mean, I think I was also a musician. I played professional conga drums for years. And I think I mean, I did some research. Well, come to find out that doing music and opening up your, right brain, your channels, doing tarot, all that kind of intuitive work. I meditate, a lot of other kinds of things. Well, guess what? You do that and you do become more intuitive and more connected to the universe. And so about 20 years ago, more than that, 30 years ago now, I opened up to, I don't know what it is. I can't even explain it to you. A voice, something that I knew wasn't me. Mm-hmm. And I called it guidance because that's help. I didn't know. They were like, you don't need, just a vibration, call us anything. But it's just my way of kind of explaining it. I can't really explain it, but I know that it's so much wiser than I could ever be. I always say that. And I also donate it what I get. And so my readings now are a combination of tarot, which I still love, and messages that I get from my clients through, I don't know, the universal source of love and just wanting us to be happy and joyful and living our best lives.
That's great. That's great. If I say too, do people typically come with a very specific question, or does it unfold very organically and then most people don't come with a specific thing? How do people usually enter the readings with you?
Both. I have clients who come with very specific questions. I have clients that come, I just did a reading for a woman. She just wanted to know, this is a big year for her. What's up with the year? What kinds of things can she expect? Sometimes, people just come because they're just wanting messages. I just want to hear what I need to do to better my life. But what I also say, even when a client comes to me and says, I want a message, or, what do I need to know? At some point during the reading, I always encourage people to not be afraid to ask specific questions, because my experience is that the more specific they can be, the more specific I can answer. So, because sometimes clients come with general questions. But then I kind of, you can say something specific, like, should I move to Ohio versus Kansas? I mean, you can ask a very specific question, and my experience is that many times you can get a very specific answer. Mm-hmm. Many years ago, as I developed, of course, as time went on into the 90s, I did end up with a mentor, a beautiful woman named Claudia Leone, who has passed on, who was a tarot reader and a channeler, and she was a mentor of mine. But Claudia always said to me, she goes, Jill, you can never get time. You can never tell, that'll never happen. Like when you channel, you'll never get like, well, in 4 months or 6 months. And actually, I found that that's not true. Mm-hmm. That sometimes I do get time. And that's why I'm just saying that because sometimes that's why asking specifically can be good, mm-hmm. And because sometimes I do get that. I can say to a client, it wouldn't surprise me if 6 months you saw that change, or 4 months. So Claudia was wrong on that, but she wasn't wrong about anything else.
Right, and she may have been right about what she experienced, and
exactly.
Different for different.
It was for her. Yeah.
And how can people find out more about you online, find you online if they'd like to do that?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, you can find my website. I have a website, JillAmySager.com. It's pretty easy. That's my full name. I'm also on Instagram under that name, and I have a Facebook professional page also under that name. So you can find me in many different ways and connect with me there.
Great. Let's spell it out too, just in case people are listening.
Sure, thanks. So it's Jill, my name, JillAmySager.com.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Laurel. I appreciate the ability to talk to people and let them know what's going on.
You're so welcome. And for those of you listening and watching, we're at MetaphysicalEmpowermentEvents.com. Enjoy our new website and come see us at our fairs. Thanks so much.
Thanks again.